Friends, hello, I hope you're all well. I'm gonna touch again on the topic of the Wahda Kabira, Wahda Nus and Chiftitalli beats and Wahda Taweela. I always keep thinking about them, how to get the best use out of them, how to be able to distinguish them from each other first, and then just know which music goes like which beat goes with which music if you want, and when they are interchangeable and all these things. Uh, as a quick illustration for the beats, we're gonna start with the Wahda. Dum, tak, tik, tak, you know. Okay, and then Wahda Taweela. Okay, and then Wahda Nus. And then Chiftitalli. Okay, so you see how they all came out of the Wahda Kabira. It kept dividing until it became Chiftitalli. And the names, you know, we all know those names: Wahda Kabira, Wahda Taweela, Wahda Nus, and Chiftitalli. But using them in the tradition and the music, even if you look back historically at the recordings that you have or the things about the music itself, you'll notice how the use of Wahda Nus, for example, at few different speeds, you know, not all of the same speed. That was one of the main beats to compose to early on in the 1900s, you know, maybe up to 1940s, 50s, in the 60s also. But then after that, there was a shift. And still the Wahda Nus, Wahda Kabira and Wahda Taweela. Like the Wahda Taweela beat in particular, it doesn't come in immediately to people. Most people would know Wahda Kabira first, you know, dum, astak, astak, dum, astak, astak. But knowing that other variation, and why is it done this way, you know, it's just altering the inside accent of the same beat of Wahda Kabira, instead of being just with the two texts in the middle. And notice how is it? Dum, astak, astak, right? Wahda Kabira, dum, astak, astak, became dum, astak, astak, astak. That's how the division is. Dum, tak, tak, astak, dum, tak, tak. An example on this beat would be most of the compositions for the singer Kulthum, but from early on in her playing, and in the Dor genre. There's a classical light genre called Dor, and it depends on this beat in particular, the Wahda Kabira and then Wahda Taweela, as it's interchangeable sometimes. I will give examples and references to the videos that you can watch, or I mean the recordings you can listen to of Dor Ana Hawit for Sayyid Darwish. And if you hear it particularly from Abbas Al-Biladi, is a singer, you will hear the ensemble playing, the collective drum ensemble. You will hear riq, you will hear something like naqara and dirbaki, and how they round the beat together with the lawazima, the instrumental lazima they do. They play it with this beat, and the verses also themselves done on that beat. So it's a Wahda Taweela, not Wahda Kabira. If you can listen and try to recognize this accent. See? It's like, and you will see also what happens after this, you know. So this beat itself can evolve to be the Wahda Nus once you put the dum in the middle. After in the place of the two S's, you can just put the tak there, right? The dum there. Astak, 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 dum, astak, and then you can go back. So taking out this dum can give you the impression of Wahda Taweela, and then putting it back, it's a Wahda Nus. And again, if you go back to those older compositions, or if you already play this music, just notice those kind of accents happening. And then there are, of course, other compositions. They are in the Wahda Kabira mode. And you'll notice also how it makes the beat feel even slower when you play Wahda Kabira versus Wahda Taweela. Wahda Taweela, when you play it, it gives you an impression of speeding up or like dividing the time, and then goes back to be slow. But Wahda Kabira, a lot of times it's just a slow progression beat. Okay, Wahda Kabira, Wahda Taweela, and then Wahda Nus. And as I said, the compositions and also many of the instrumental compositions that we know personally done to these beats. If you listen to the original recording of Abdul Wahab or Muhammad Abdul Wahab playing Khatwat Habibi, for example, or Balad al Mahbub, you will notice the Wahda Nus beat there in the composition. And just to touch on these things, comparing to the use of Maqsoom and Baladi at that time, this beat was more popular than Maqsoom and Baladi. But yes, so Maqsoom can be something to go to even faster age. But for singing and laid back classical singing and tarab, the Wahda Nus, Wahda Kabira, and Wahda Taweela were the best beats for that genre. Because you also, within that, you still can play Maqsoom. I can demonstrate that, in a second. So let me see if I'm getting everything together here. So Wahda Kabira, Wahda Taweela, and Wahda Nus, and how they are used more in the older tradition of composition, among the musicians, especially in Egypt in particular, and then Syria. So that's something to look at. And then the Turkish compositions. And remember, when we say Chiftitalli, Chiftitalli is the word, it's Greek originally, but everybody got used to calling that beat with Chiftitalli. Itself, it means dancing, as they told me in the Greek language. Okay, but we use this term Chiftitalli for this particular beat that has, you see, so that's Chiftitalli. And as I explained earlier, it's the next division for the Wahda Nus. And you can switch them back and forth. So when it came to a certain feel in the tradition, I myself noticed that the Arab composers, most of the time they compose into the Wahda Nus, the only one dum in the middle. Versus you hear Turkish compositions, they're all made to the Chiftitalli. And they have a lighter, faster feel to them, or even vice versa, like really, really, really slow. But for Arabic, because it was part of a lot of different kinds of compositions and songs, it had more use to it. So people wanted to be to the tarab state with only one dum. You see, it opens up the space more instead of you trying to cram. It's not cramming, but it's just like, it's more edgy. When you have two dums, it becomes more edgy. It confirms the beat more. When you play with one dum, you are more suspended and you can feel the space. You see my point? Cool. Okay, so that's the explanation. And now also the relationship with the Maqsoom, as I said, sometimes you can break from this beat. See, became Maqsoom from the same speed. See, melody also the same thing. So that's the interchange. If we play it faster, even you'll see like. You'll see the ease of just inserting the Maqsoom within the Wahda Nus. And then the other concept I enjoy myself actually mixing the two beats together. That's something you can do when you want to make up for just being by yourself as a drummer. You can have the Wahda Nus and the Maqsoom or the Baladi. You'll see like how you do. See that? I want to demonstrate it under the back key a little bit because it's also much clearer in this point. So if we play in. So I'm still having the Maqsoom, the Wahda Nus feel, and the same Baladi or Maqsoom beat. But Baladi has this kind of like, because of the two dum. So that's the idea. You know, it comes around it this way. And again here. Like for example, if you go back and listen to Khatwat Habibi, song by, instrumental by Muhammad Abdul Wahab, you see how the rounding of the beat, you know, this. Oh, and then sometimes people just take it as it's a taqsim beat, right? Like that's one thing you could do, of course, with it, that you can just lay the beat and do taqsim on it. But don't forget that also it's a beat that you compose to, so it's more usable than just for taqsim. That's, for example, like I just remember this idea that most people once they hear this groove, oh yeah, it's just for taqsim. No, it's a beat really. You can, like maqsoom, like anything else, you can just move with, you know. Okay, so this is about those beats, and I hope that's clear enough. Ask me any questions, please, and I hope I didn't forget anything. I'll see you in the next video in the next month. Okay, take care.